Yo, welcome to another episode of the Culture Controversial Podcast. Man, I'm your host, Simply Nicholas 87, and my co host, Ty H.
Hey, good evening, people. Glad to be here.
Hey, for all the new people that ain't subscribed to the channel, y'all hit the subscribe button. Also, hit that notification bell, let you know when we're going live and dropping new content, man. Um, this is week 11. Yeah, week 11.
Yeah,
The finale of high school football, maybe finale, maybe not finale. We don't
a
know.
regular season finale, regardless.
Regular season finale regardless, but the journey can continue tomorrow. But we're gonna get into last week's game against Parkwood. I think the score ended up being what 20.
28-21.
And I think I said 27-21. But
You're right there. But
yeah,
you said
right
we were
there.
gonna win, but so did I. So.
Yeah, I did. I mean, the score was that, but wrong team. Either way, I'm gonna take my outtakes. I didn't go to the game, but I did watch it on the network. I did catch the game live, and from what I seen, me personally, first drive, they looked great on that first drive. I probably the best that they've looked all year on this first drive. They took command of the ball, ran the ball, got down in the end zone, took care of business. And they, like I said, Parkwood came back down. I think they scored on either their first or their second drive. From that, might have been their second drive.
It might have been the third drive. I think, when they scored.
Either way, it was 7-7.
It was
Deadlock
7-7 at halftime.
time. Yeah. Coming out second half, Parkwood got the ball, scored on their drive, opening drive. Anson got the ball back, scored on their next drive.
And we
Actually,
got down 21-7 in that game before we scored again.
was it 21? I thought they
Yeah, we
got
got
first.
down 21-7 in the third quarter.
Okay. Well,
We were down
21.
21-7 going into the fourth because Parkwood was over there celebrating. And I
Okay.
remember the gentleman. I actually invited him to watch the show. The gentleman, his son is a running back. He was, I think, number 25's dad was saying that he was kind of getting upset that or disturbed that Parker was over there celebrating, and nobody from on the Anson sideline seemed to take exception to that. And I tend to agree with him on that. But go ahead.
I agree. But anyway, they went to the fourth quarter. I think the score was maybe, what was it? One in the fourth, 21-7 or 21-14. Might have been 21-7.
Yeah, 21-7. It was 21-7 for deep into that fourth quarter.
Yeah. Then I think Park Anson scored, and then Parkwood scored, and Anson scored again. So is it like 21-28?
Yeah. Then late in the game, we Parkwood got dumb and threw the ball twice and let us save our timeout. So we got the ball back on the final drive. Hickson got hurt like second play of the drive.
Drive, yeah.
He brought Hyatt in there. Hyatt got in rhythm too, was driving. And this is no disrespect to Hickson whatsoever, but Hyatt got in rhythm. And then he took Hyatt back out the game and put Hickson back in there. And I'm not saying the game was lost on that sequence, but at the time Hyatt had gotten in rhythm and a good rhythm pass. I rather would have just kept him in there since he was in rhythm and just rode a hot hand on the drive to see if he could have let an engineer to score and drive.
Right.
That drive ended. We went into a timeout and we called a QB run and ran QB off tackle on like 4th and 9 out of a timeout, which I'm still bewildered by that. And we ended up turning over on downs, and that was all she wrote.
And then the final outcome was what it was. 28-21.
Yeah.
This week, they got West Stanley.
A depleted West Stanley. Or West Stanley is suffering, from what I understand, a West Stanley team is depleted with a flu outbreak.
Yeah. So you gotta go out there and handle business.
You must.
JV has no game because of that. I think they game got canceled because of shorthanded.
Yeah, I don't know why it wasn't a forfeit, but yeah.
Oh, they didn't forfeit it?
Well, I don't know. It was never. I just know the game was canceled. But I was like, if they don't have enough if they didn't have enough JV players to fill the team, it should have been a forfeit. So I don't know. But either way, the game's wasn't played tonight, as you said.
Okay. Anyway, varsity has West Stanley this week. Last year, when this was last year, but this year, you got an opportunity to strike gold, get in that play. You got a chance to get in the playoffs.
You sure do. If you win, I think I know another guarantee from the projections I've seen. It looks like if they win, they'll get in.
Yeah, they'll win. They'll be 30. They'll be a 31st seed.
Yeah, so according to our good friend Lee, glad you're on, Lee. He said they're bringing JV players up to play varsity.
Okay.
If that's the case, we should win the game. We should win the game handily.
Should, because
But
what
but,
happened
but,
before
here,
was no
here,
good.
but here's what's bothering me, and I'm gonna going back to that game against Parkwood. We had the ball in plus territory multiple times in scoring range, and it seemed like every time we got either near the red zone or around the red zone area, or at least on the other side of the 50 within the 35-yard line, we just had some unexplainable, explicable fumbles. Like there was one with a center QB on the snap, QB just
Yeah, I
dropped the
seen that one.
ball. There's another running back just fumbled. I mean, it was some atrocious fumbling in scoring territory, and I'm like, come on now. Then you're still having issues substituting players in and out and getting your personnel on the field. It was just that was a poorly executed and poorly managed game. I'm sorry. If that game would have been managed well at all, it's just been managed even fairly, that's the game that we should have won by a couple scores. The way we were able to move the ball up and down on them early in the game, and our defense actually played a decent game. Our defense forced multiple takeaways again. We could say that through 9 games, we forced a takeaway,
Turnover.
at least one takeaway in every game of the season. You shouldn't be 3-6, and you probably have forced probably the most takeaways in the conference, maybe even amongst the state. You got to lead. You got to be up high ranked in the state as far as teams that force takeaways. To have a defense forcing takeaways like that, you still have a 3-6 record. That's unacceptable. And the reason why is because we're giving the ball away. We haven't taken. Other teams are forcing us. I'm not even gonna say other teams are forcing us to give the ball away. We're having so many unforced turnovers, so many untimely penalties, those type of things, drops. It's just like we're just shooting ourselves in the foot. And for them to look so sloppy and unorganized and still not having identity offensively, I can't understand why you're switching back and forth with your quarterback situation either.
When Jermaine is in there, shoot ourselves in the foot. Absolutely.
Right. And the thing about it, with the type backfield you got Kendrick May, number 7, who's I know they're playing him with defense, but you got to get him with some carries. You got 25, who was hurt most of the year, but he's back now. He's a downhill runner. And then you got Hickson himself. If you use them 3 in the backfield as running backs and use that three-man tandem, you should be able to run the ball down anybody's throat. Let Hyatt go back to playing quarterback. I know Hyatt struggled with some turnovers mid-season, but I don't think that was a license just to give up on him altogether. Still, no matter what you think, even though he may not be the athlete that Hickson is, I think Hyatt, as a pocket passer, gives you the best chance to win the game. I think he puts you in best position because at least the defense is honest and has to respect your passing attack. And I have nothing against Hickson. I think he's an incredible athlete. And he appears to be a good kid too, a phenomenal athlete. And do I think Hickson can play quarterback? I think yes. But if you're going to play Hickson a quarterback, you have to cater your offense to his skill set. They're not catering the offense to his skill set. His skill set, it should be like a QB power run, QB zone read type offense if you're going to have him at quarterback, not trying to have him drop back throwing screens and stuff when you haven't developed him as a passer. Whereas when you have Hyatt out there, yeah, you can run more of a traditional passing attack. But good when it comes to good coaching, coach is supposed to recognize personnel and recognize the strengths of their personnel. And when you're going to have certain personnel groups in there, the offense should be catered to the strengths of the personnel. If you're going to have Hickson playing quarterback, his athleticism is his strength. The offensive scheme should be catered to his strength, not trying to put in position to do things that he may not be comfortable doing. It's just like if you're going to have Hyatt out there, you're not going to be running zone read because that's not his strength. Same thing, you're not going to have Hickson making 7-step drops if that's not his strength. Put your personnel in position to cater to his strengths. To me, the most logical thing to do is let Hyatt play quarterback, let Hickson, 25, and May play running back. To me, and if you wanted to sprinkle Gainey in there too, so be it. But something else I'm getting tired of. Every time I talk to someone, the excuse is made, well, we're playing so many sophomores. It's like, a shout out to you, Nelson, but we were talking the other day, we got so many sophomores starting on varsity. I understand that. However, and I'm Griffin, I'm responding to that. However, yeah, we're playing a lot of sophomores, but most of the costly mistakes and the turnovers are being caused by seniors. If you look at the game against Parkwood, most of the people who made the costly mistakes, namely the turnovers, the fumbling, those mistakes were made by seniors. If you look throughout the season, most of the turnovers that we've given away were either committed by a junior or senior, by upperclassmen, not by the sophomores. So yeah, you can say that we're starting a lot of sophomores, but that's not the reason we're losing games. The lack of execution is coming from your upperclassmen. Let me see what my brother's saying right here. Screens will work because the line B opposite team coming downhill trying to stop. I agree with that, and lots of times they over pursue and they overrun it. So we're inviting the rush, and that gives you an opportunity to get your backs in space with blockers ahead of them. I agree with that. However, you have to have someone who can accurately deliver it. We're struggling just to even connect on a bubble screen. We're struggling just to connect even on a tunnel screen. It's like the ball's being overthrown or overshot, and with that, those are completions I know Hyatt can make, and that's not me trying to favor any kid over another. Right, exactly, Griffin. No. That's why I get tired of hearing that excuse. But back to what I was saying, when it comes to those screens and everything, yeah, those are excellent calls. But if you're not executing it properly, it doesn't matter. And the thing about it, and that's when you got to say, well, who can I put out there who can execute this properly? If you're seeing that this is not to the strength of the person that you're trying to get executed, then you need to have someone out there who can execute it, and then put that other person in position to use his strengths. Is what I'm saying. I'm not saying the call is bad. What I'm saying is who you're running it with, who you're having executed is bad.
True. I know there's a lot of concerns. I've seen a lot of posts, a lot of frustration, and I understand as parents that the frustration with this program, I could definitely understand, and I feel like they need a voice to speak out as well, because you gotta think these parents, whether they play not, but they went to school and they've seen this traditional program win games, not have a losing season, have a consistent winning season, enter the postseason, have a home playoff game at some point in that postseason. And now you're just looking like the laughing stock of this conference right now, which is a cupcake conference. And I'm gonna say that honestly, it's a cupcake conference.
Besides, Monroe's not a cupcake, but I get what you say.
No, well, mine is Monroe, but everybody else in this conference is cupcake,
including us, because we're the ones getting our butts kicked.
Yeah, but I mean,
I know what you mean. Yeah. I'm just saying, but we're the ones who hadn't won a game in the conference, so the other teams can look at us like the cupcake too. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But in my heyday, there was no way we would have lost to any team in this conference. Not even Monroe. We would have put Monroe on the backside. I feel like Monroe, they would have scored, but they wouldn't have had 50. I can guarantee you they wouldn't have had 50.
I think our record, if look how many games we blew. I'm gonna go through some games that we blew with our game management and our poor game management and poor execution.
Okay.
That where we just gave the game away.
All right.
That game against Pinecrest whooped us.
Yeah.
Let's see. The next game we lost after that was the Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant.
I want to go through that Mount Pleasant game. We gave the game away. I'm not trying to come down to one. I put that on coaching. That game we lost Mount Pleasant. I mean, you had that game. That's just poor game management. That's all I got to say about that. Poor game management, poor execution. We turned the ball over way too much of the game. That was a game. Had we just managed the game properly, we would have won the game going away.
Yeah.
They went away from what was working.
Central Page.
At that time, the vertical passing was effective, and they went away from it. And it's the next game we lost to Central Pageland. That was atrocious, and that's the one where you got to look yourselves in the mirror and point at yourself on that one. That's a game where early in the game vertical passing worked. You went away from it as well, and you got in the red zone and in plus territory multiple times and just had horrendous, atrocious play calling and atrocious execution as well. That was unacceptable. Those are two games. I'm just talking about those two games right there.
Yeah.
Are two that should have been blowout wins for you. I know you wish you would have had back. You're 3-6 now. If you had those wins, you'd at least be 5-4. I mean,
you know what? Honestly, I put Forest Hills in there.
Well, I'm getting to that.
Okay.
Forest Hills game was lack of execution. That was more just poor execution. That was a poor effort and execution. It looked like a team that wasn't prepared to play. because
they're gonna get killed tomorrow. I just want everybody to know that they're not gonna have a snowball.
I think Monroe's gonna. And I told Griffin, your homeboy Anthony.
Yeah. I talked to him.
He and I had a conversation, and I respect Anthony, so I'm not dissing. But he was saying that he thinks that game's gonna be a nail biter and that Forest Hill will win. This is when we were talking a couple of weeks ago down at the stadium. I think you may have been standing with him when we were talking, and I said I think Monroe's gonna kill him, and I stand by that. I think Monroe's gonna win the game at least by 3 or 4 touchdowns.
He said I like Forest Hill.
Griffin like Forest Hill too.
I talked to Anthony. Not Anthony Harris. He hit me up.
Well, I know Anthony Harris too.
And he was saying the same. He said he thinks that Monroe's going to win at least by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm thinking and that Monroe Forest Hill game, I'm thinking like Monroe 42, Forest Hill 14, like that kind of game.
I'm in that range, but maybe I'll say 48-24, somewhere in that area.
I don't think Forest Hill getting 24. I might say 48-14.
Between 20 and 24.
Yeah, like at least they have Monroe by as many as they want. Forest Hill is a sloppy football. Forest Hill is a product of not playing a God-heaven soul, and I'm including us in that, not playing nobody, because we're 3-6. So Forest Hill is a product of not playing a soul. Well, we make everybody's defense look good. Honestly, we have an inept offense. That was our first game switching quarterbacks and trying to run the same offense with a different quarterback instead of catering the new offense to his skill set. That was when we were having identity crisis on offense. We played the game against Forest Hill. Monroe scoring them when the F to get ready. Also with Forest Hill is sloppy. They get a lot of penalties. Forest Hill in that game against us, Forest Hill turned the ball over 4 times. If they turn the ball over 4 times tomorrow night, they're going to get run out of the stadium. They also got a lot of penalties. That's what made me so mad about the game. As much as they were penalized and as many times they turned the ball over and we still lost to them by 3 touchdowns, that says a lot about us and where we were offensively. And so I'll see you at the game tomorrow night, man. We'll talk about it. But
shout out to Anthony Harris too, because I said they I think they pretty much won their conference. But
is Anthony Harris still at 71st?
Yep, they undefeated still.
71st Falcons. Yep. Yeah. The first thing you see when you get in Fayetteville. I love to have Anthony Harris come back home and be on the staff in Edson County. We need a guy like that who's been on how do I word this nicely? Who's been on a competent staff.
Yeah,
I think will be a great addition to Edson County. But I understand if he got his life in Fayetteville and probably getting paid more in Fayetteville, I can't blame him.
Nah, I can't blame him on that. You got to keep it. Stay where you at if the money's there. But
that is true, Griffin. Monroe did have 4 drives that started on our side of the field. To that point, the way Forest Hill turned the ball over against us, if they turn the ball over against us the way they did against Monroe, then Monroe have that same opportunity to have those short drives on that side of the field. No, but you are right. Monroe had multiple drives on the short side of the field. That was because of turnovers. If Forest Hill is as sloppy as they were against us against Monroe, then they could suffer the same fate that we did. It might not be 56-3, but I feel like it could be a good 42-14.
Yeah, Monroe's go 40. I'll give them that. They're gonna get 40.
And by the way, I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't like either one of them, so it don't make a difference to me. It's just my respective opinion. I just feel like that Monroe's going to win that game in a blowout. And Griffin, if I'm wrong, I'll come up to you tomorrow and I'll be man enough to tell you that you're right, because I know you when I see you. I'll walk up to you and tell you, like, look, man, you're right. I'm not too proud to do that.
But anyway,
I'll be there tomorrow.
Worst case scenario and best case scenario for tomorrow. If you win, you in. That's just what it is.
And if you lose, you better pray and for some luck.
Well, I don't really think it's gonna be no luck in that. I think you just got one of them got to win. Because at this point, it's the 30. It's the 30.
And you know what's so crazy about this? With the level of talent we have, if we sneak in, if you're a higher seeded team, ordinarily when you get like a last or second to last seed, you're getting a cakewalk. If this team is focused and decides just to play, that could be a nightmarish scenario. Let's say if it's a higher seeded team that played a weak schedule and they're thinking they're going to have a cakewalk, thinking they're going to be playing to get some pushovers. If we sneak in, we're the type team that have the ability and the talent to upset someone in the first round, and we can sneak in and give somebody hell.
And by projection, the standards of what how they got it, if they win tomorrow, they will be going to Reidsville.
Reidsville, North Carolina?
Mm-hmm. They'll be playing Reidsville.
Oh, man. You know, Reidsville holds a special place in my heart, man. Max's girlfriend is from Reidsville. Max's girlfriend I did in college. And so
Okay.
I've spent I've taken many trips to Reedsville, and I'm not gonna get in detail, but I know Reedsville very well, that area, about 16 miles north of Greensboro. I used to
Yeah.
ride there a lot. So
That's the projected, because they are projected number 2, and I think they're answering if they win, it'd be 30-31
I
in the.
love to ride up to Reedsville. Let me find out she up there. Nah, she married now, so she's married now, man. So I wouldn't bother, but still,
I think that's the West region, if I ain't mistaken. No, it might be East.
yeah. That's not a bad drive either. It's like just after you get Greensboro, about another 20 minutes after you get out of Greensboro.
Is it north or
It's north of Greensboro. It's like, where like Danville, Virginia, and all that is.
Yeah, right there, the line.
Yeah, it's like near Danville, Virginia, near Martinsville, Virginia, and all that.
In the Eden area, almost.
Yeah, they're in the same county. Reedsville and Eden are like 12 miles apart.
Okay, I know it.
Yeah, like Eden is like right across the line from Martinsville, and Reedsville is like right across the line from Danville.
Okay. I mean, it'd be a good. It's a good. I mean, you get in, you control your destiny at this point. You got 5 games.
Yeah. So, and like I said, we got some parents and players on here. We got Lee, we got Griffin. They both got kids on the team, and I know these they're passionate fathers, man. I see y'all cheering your sons on every week, and I'm hoping you're instilling the message to your sons what's at stake. And Griffin and Lee, I know y'all are instilling that message to your sons of what's at stake. And I'm hoping that there's a sense of urgency. I'm hoping they realize what's at stake. And I understand they're not always being put in the best position to be successful, but I'm hoping that when they make the best of whatever situation they're put in and give the best effort and have a sense of urgency to try to come away with a victory, and not only come away with a victory, but secure themselves a playoff berth.
Right. Forest Hills has too many weapons on offense on Monroe team. Can't guard.
Man, he really hammering this home, man. I'm like, all right, man. I ain't gonna put no money on it, but we'll see, man.
I mean, personally, I mean they got offense, but they're not disciplined.
Not disciplined at all.
They got the offense, they're not disciplined.
Not disciplined at all.
Now if they come out and play discipline, then you might have yourself a ball game.
The only thing I can see, it is a rivalry game. And rivalry games do get weird sometimes.
They do. We got a lot of rivalry games tomorrow.
Yeah. Richmond Senior and Scotland Senior both playing tomorrow as well. Both of them at 5-4. Both of them.
Now that's shocking.
Richmond Senior is 4-1 in conference play too. They're 5-1 in their conference. They upset Lee County a couple weeks ago.
But they probably more like they ain't winning the conference though. Is it? That's Pinecrest.
Nah, Pinecrest already clinched the conference.
Okay.
And I think Richmond Senior and Scotland are battling for the second place in conference. So
pretty much.
Richmond Senior got talent still. I mean, they're still not going to be. I mean, they're not a state championship favorite team or anything. But in that 4A bracket,
make a little run.
Yeah, in that 4A bracket though, you still wouldn't just be looking at your camera and just say, "I want them." I mean, they still got athletes, man. They were real young and they got off to a slow start, but they've kind of started to hit the stride. They still could be a team, if you don't come to play, that can knock you out.
Yeah, Lee said Forest Hills defense line is big, but they had not been tested by an offense like Monroe.
True.
Honestly, they really hadn't played anybody. The only team I can say that they actually played that was probably had a pretty good record was probably Latin. That's about the only team I can see. And
they didn't even score an offensive touchdown in that game. They won the game on 2 non-offensive touchdowns. I mean, a win is a win. But
yeah, win is a win. Yeah.
Yeah, Griff. I want to go back to your statement. You said number 25 is your kid. He's a good downhill runner, man. They need to. I agree with what you said. Well, what grade is your son in?
I think he's like 10th grade. I would say he's 10th grade.
Man, I feel like this. Don't transfer him out, man. Hold. Let's at least see what the situation is next year before you make a decision like that. Like, keep him with us for at least for another year to see what we got, because he could be a feature back, man. Oh, he's a 10th grader, cool. So and Kendrick May is in 10th grade too. If you put your kid and Kendrick May together, that could be like James Curry, Brent Simpson 2.0.
Yeah, I agree.
Your kid could bring the thunder, and Kendrick May could bring the lightning. You got something to do this right
now. It's who's singing?
You said that more pumped by 7 slowed the momentum of kid is a sophomore. talked to him. He's he's not the fair catch type of player. He said it and was able to back it up and let it bounce. Okay, fair enough. And number 7 is made. Okay, I'm the kid made if the kid made a mistake on the field, that happens. But if you look at the upside this kid has and what he has to offer, his speed, you take his and what I like about May, okay, he may have made a mistake on a punt, on a muff punt. That happened. Hopefully it's a lesson learned. And as far as like fair catching, he'll learn when to fair catch and when not to and when to field it. But when you look at his upside, I love the fact that he's a north to south runner. He doesn't tiptoe. He doesn't dance in the backfield. He's a north south runner. So is 25. 25 runs north and south. You take that the ability to gas you, that Jalen Marshall-esque ability to gas you, then you take 25 with that ability to pound you, smash you, and run downhill, big physical runner. You take that combination together, and then you got Hyatt coming back, who, when at his best, at least he throws the ball well enough to keep the defense honest. You have that there. If you can have a solid coaching staff, build an offensive line up a little more. If you have a solid coaching staff, you can win a heck of a lot of games with that combination. You got a young defense with a lot of people coming back too, who already was opportunistic, forced a lot of takeaways. This is a team that next year can come out and go 9-1. Easily. But you got to have someone to unleash it. And by the way, anybody knows me know that I'm a big fan of Coach Jackson. I think the world of him. I think he's a great man. I think he's a great ambassador. I think he's a great mentor. I think he's a great teacher and a great molder of young men. So anybody who knows me knows how I feel about him. But at the end of the day, the results, good stuff. The results are not there, and so and a lot of the results not being there. It's a myriad of reasons. Now, granted, Coach Jackson will be the first person to tell you that he's responsible for winning with what he has and responsible for making the best with what he has. He'll be the first to tell you that. So anything I'm saying right here is not nothing that he wouldn't acknowledge himself. One thing, he's a person who takes full accountability for what's going on. So, and with that, there's a myriad of reasons for why it is what it is. First of all, and I've beaten this horse week in and week out. They have a skeletal staff. You only have 6 paid coaches on your staff. You are not going to win games no matter who. I don't care if you got Tommy Knox coaching. If you only got 6 coaches on your staff, there's no way that a team can be organized with that few coaches. There is no way your position groups can get the adequate coaching they need with that few coaches. That means you got one guy, you got multiple position groups being handled by you got one guy. So that means you're going to have one coach handling multiple units, another coach handling multiple units, another coach handling multiple units. You don't even have an individual coach for each position group. Don't even know if you got a defense coordinator. So when you have that few coaches, there's no way the kid's going to get proper coaching they need. Coach Jackson said that himself. He said that on this podcast when we talked to him. He said to us, when you have the majority of your coach staff volunteer coaches who volunteer, he said you're not going to get the proper and adequate coaching you need. So he acknowledges that. And I think and what he said has reigned true, that they haven't gotten the adequate coaching they needed. Now, on the flip side, I can counter argue and say that it's his group. He's responsible for making the best of the hand he's dealt and still responsible for winning with what he has. And once you recognize what the shortcomings are of what he has, you have to find a way to adjust to make the best of it. Like you still have to find a way to win. You still have to find alternative ways to say, hey, this is the hand I'm dealt. Maybe if we do this, maybe we can take care of this deficiency this way, or even if he has to get more hands on himself. Nevertheless, when you have that kind of talent and got off to the start that you got, the first 4 games of the season, you had those same shortcomings and were still able to win 3 of those first 4 games. And then somewhere in the second half of the Albemarle game, everything went south and we were never the same again. At this point, you can't have that. And red zone play calling has been an Achilles heel. When that ball gets, even before the red zone, when that ball gets past the 40, when that ball gets past the plus 40, it's just like the play calling is atrocious. And not only is the play calling atrocious, the execution is equally as bad. And at that point, the things like not being able to protect the ball, the things like not having proper personnel. Do you know how many times we've seen the 11th guy running out on the field at the last second? That's unacceptable this deep into the season. And we saw it multiple times Friday. I can give you a sequence where it was on 3rd and 9, and I'm hearing someone say, punt team, get ready, punt team, get ready, punt team, get ready. The quarter ends, so you have even the quarter break, the end, and then you don't convert 3rd and 9. And then when the punt team comes out, they only have 10 men on the field, and the 11th man runs out close to the play clock expiring. That is unacceptable.
Preschool, absolutely.
Right, that is unacceptable.
Let me ask y'all this, fans, people in the chat, parents. I'm gonna ask y'all this, and you can be honest, and it's perfectly fine. I'll take the fall because this is my show. But I'm gonna ask y'all a serious question. Next year, as parents, fans, uh, you know, whatever, do you think that it's time to have a new staff, meaning all the way through, or would you rather keep what you got? I'm asking the parents. This anybody can answer this. I'm not answering it. It's up to y'all. Y'all make this call. Cause at the end of the day, this is y'all voice. I'm just here for a platform. I'm just putting it out there. But I'm asking y'all as parents, fans, and whoever.
And
Do
their
you
opinion is
think
their opinion. They're entitled to it, and they have the
they're
right
entitled
to.
to their opinion? Yeah. But if it bites back on me, I take the fall for this. But I'm asking an honest question
Well, I
that
mean,
can be answered.
I don't work for Anson County Schools, so, I
I
mean,
don't either. So
so
yeah, I'm asking a fair question. As parents and whatever, do y'all think that the staff, coaching staff, needs to be revamped? Just start clean slate, brand new everything. Keep Ralph. Everybody else can go. Okay. Honestly, I'll keep the defensive coordinator Allen. He's a great defensive coach.
that's a,
Okay.
that's a fair statement.
That's fair. Yeah.
Defense hasn't been the issue. Defense has been pretty consistent and have been very opportunistic in forcing a lot of turnovers. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get mad at that statement. I'm
No,
not
I.
mad at Griffin's statement either.
Mm-mm. That's what I'm saying. It's y'all. I want y'all to speak on this. This is not me. This is y'all.
And
Like,
what I want to elaborate on what Griffin said about to keep Ralph and get rid of everyone else.
mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that. Here's the thing about it: if you do that, then you got to have a winning season the next year. I don't care what happens. And I sing the praises of Ralph Jackson because I know what kind of man he is. And I honestly just want to see what he can do when dealt the full hand. I don't
Yeah.
think he's been dealt. I don't think he's been dealt the full deck of cards the entire time he's been here. And so, but at the end of the day, you're in your 8th season and you've only had one winning season. That still has to be evaluated. And when you evaluate that, there has to be a level of accountability there. He takes personal accountability for it, but at the end of the day, taking accountability is one thing. Another thing is what are we going to do to fix the situation? And
Yeah.
the thing about it, I haven't seen a fix. And I'm sure that, and he'll be the first to tell you that that's a fair assessment.
Well,
And if he's watching this, this is not a shot. This is
no.
just an objective assessment.
Do you? I mean, me personally, I love to have this athletic director on here, so he can
Coach
answer.
Jordan.
Yeah, I would love to have him to answer these questions. So that he can
Well,
know.
what I would love to have Coach Jordan, and you and I both know Coach Jordan. What I would love to ask Coach Jordan, and if I would have been thinking, I could have texted him, but I want to reach out to him a little further ahead of time to this because what I want to make, Coach Jordan's very approachable, and Coach Jordan I think would be happy to join us. I don't think he shies away from joining us. He seems to be a person who doesn't mind talking to people. The question I would have for Coach Jordan is why were 4 paid coaching positions taken away from this man's staff? And the reason I would ask that because I think Coach Jordan is an honest man, and I think he's a decent man, and I think that he would answer my question honestly. Why um, why was it budgeted to where 4 paid coaching positions were taken away from this man's staff? And the reason I would want to know that is because Coach Jordan coaches the basketball team himself. So he knows the importance of having an appropriate staff, an adequate staff, because he would need an adequate staff for his basketball team to be successful. And I know that when business decisions are made, is one thing from sitting in the position as being the coach and then sitting in another position as being athletic director. But I do want to know what's the logic of that. And in the evaluation of Jackson, are those things taken into consideration? And if they are, would he be allotted opportunity to see what he could do if he had a full complement of coaches?
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if Coach Jackson is given opportunity to have a full complement of coaches, he has to pick the right ones as well. And not only do they have to pick the right ones, you're gonna have to find a way to get results.
Yeah, so a basketball team has 4 coaches. Okay.
Okay, how many do I don't keep up with high school basketball. From a general perspective, how many coaches does most other high school basketball teams have? And I'm not being funny, I honestly don't know. And I need something to compare it to. Typically, how many assistant coaches are on a high school basketball team? If you don't mind me asking, young man or lady, whoever said that.
Yeah, I don't know personally. Like I
Right.
don't know.
So I want to
But
compare it.
it's like we're only using 20% max of our offensive talent.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to it, I'm trying not to bash anybody.
Most 2A teams have two.
Basketball wise, okay, you're talking about most 2A basketball teams?
Yeah, that's what I think he's saying. Like most 2A
Okay.
teams have two, but we have four.
Yeah, okay. So now this poses the next question. He's able to have his basketball team have double the amount of coaches that his peers have. But then the football coach has been stuck by having less coaches than his other peers have.
That doesn't add up.
At
I'm
all.
reading this right here because he's saying the defending champions in 2A only had two basketball coaches.
I take his word for it. He keeps up with it. I don't. So I'll take his word for it.
So they had two and we got four. Something.
Right. And as far as the football basketball comparison is concerned, you got about 50 football players. At least they listed about 50. I don't know how many actually. They listed about 50 at the beginning of the year on the Max Prep site. Versus, but we'll say 45. We'll say between 45, 40, 50 players. So, versus a basketball team typically only have 12 players, and only 5 on the court at the time. So, yeah. I guess that may be more manageable depending on the talent level that you got. But so for his basketball team to say, I'm going to have double the amount of coaches that the 2A champions had, but in your football team, you're going to take 6 coaches away from Coach Jackson and leave him basically. It's just basically him and Coach Hyatt and shout out to Pastor Steve, but is Pastor Steve counted in those 6 coaches?
Nah, he's like a chaplain.
Yeah, I know, but on the Max Prep side, they list him as a coach. That's what I was asking. And I like Pastor Steve, so that's not anything bad about him. I'm just trying to just get the count.
Yeah, I seen it on there too. I don't think he's a coach.
Right, because let's see what we got. So let's take Ralph. Okay, we got head coach Ralph Jackson. So we got Coach Hyatt. We got Terry Pons. We got Nelson. We got Chandler. That's 4. We got Allen, the defense coordinator. That's 5.
What say? I hear that the sophomore class is leaving. So how will that affect Anson football next year?
Give me a minute before I answer that. I'm trying to count the coaches. So I done counted 5 coaches. So who's the 6th man then? The 6th coach?
Did we count Chandler?
Yeah, I already counted Chandler. I said I'm gonna do it again. Coach Hyatt, Nelson, Terry Pons. I said Chandler.
Yeah.
That's a 5th. And Coach Allen. That's 5.
And Jackson.
Well, I'm not counting the head coach. I'm talking about the assistant.
Okay. Well, I guess it would be Adams then.
Okay, so that means you only got 5 assistant coaches, and that's not a diss because but the only thing Steve could do for him is pray, and we need all the prayers we can get. So I'm not minimizing. Almond. So that is 6, and then we got the chaplain with Steve. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, the special teams guy.
Yeah. You know, and I know Ralph's going to defend his guys. Yeah.
There you go.
And I know Ralph, the character of Ralph, he's never going to throw his coaching staff under the bus.
Right.
But when you're making those decisions, you got to get people on your staff that can get the job done.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Because ultimately, the person is going to fall on you. Because when they look at the win-loss record, that's your win-loss record.
Not there.
Right. So you got to. Now, granted, I don't know what kind of. Doesn't look like he was granted the budget to really get what he needed. So, but ultimately, when you're the head of the ship, you got to find a way to steer the ship with the best, to the best of your ability with the hand that you're dealt.
Yeah.
It's just like, for example, to those people who have households and families, or whatever, you're not always going to be dealt the best hand. You might not even have the job you want. Everything might not go the way you want it, but I bet every last one of you still find a way to make sure your family gets through and gets by.
Right.
I bet none of you are letting your families go without. And you're not saying that, well, my circumstances are not the best. I'm not dealt the best hand. So at the end of the day, you still got to find a way. Now, what's this he saying about sophomore class?
The sophomore class leaves. What happens to Anson next year? Rumors that all those guys wanting to leave.
We only got one high school in the county, so what, they're going to move?
Well,
I'm not being funny, but I'm like, we only got one high school, so it's not like they can go to West Anson and North Anson.
let me put it to you like this: if they leave, they're not gonna get the same opportunities when they go anywhere else. I'm just gonna put it like that.
Not a whole group of guys, nothing like this, unless they're planning on moving.
You gotta get out the bus to get under it. These kids need coaching. They do.
They do. They do.
And that's why I want these parents to chime in, because they at the end of the day, I get it. You support your kids 100%. Athletics, education, that's what you're supposed to do. But at the same time, you want them to have some kind of fight in them. I heard they're going to Forest Hills or Monroe.
How about this? If they're going to Forest Hill or Monroe, if they ain't moving to Union County and they're going to Forest Hill or Monroe, then I'm not telling nobody to be a snitch, but I mean, that could be validated, and then somebody
said they don't get the exposure that these two. If they winning.
What do you mean they don't get the exposure these things? I'm about to say, if they quit fumbling dang on ball and stuff, man, let me stop. Because even they're still, and don't get me wrong, I know we're criticizing the coaching, but one thing I still want to make clear: Coach Jackson, Coach Jackson didn't fumble that ball 4 times Friday. I do want to make that clear. Coach Jackson against Pageland didn't throw a pick 6 that cost us the game. I want to make that clear too. I'm about to say, Coach, I understand that coaching is paramount and is key, but Coach Jackson hasn't fumbled nan ball this year. Coach Jackson hadn't thrown nan interception this year. I said, we still got to make that clear. So at the end of the day, Coach Jackson's not the one tiptoeing out the backfield.
Thank you. That's simple as that. Tell me again. If you want
exactly. So to those kids who are saying that, right now, this is just high school football kids. Y'all, in a couple of years, y'all gonna be in the real world. And nobody's gonna give you or hand you anything. I'm telling you that right now. This world is cold.
I want to go back to this one right here, exposure. And I'm gonna say this. And I'm gonna say this the nicest way as possible. Like, I mean, the good way, no disrespect and nothing like that. You had exposure when you started out 3-1. That's all I gotta say.
Well, let me take it back even further, Nick. Okay, let's take it back to 02-03 during that time. Okay. In 2002, Anson went 2-8, 2-9 when you include the playoff game. In 2003, Anson went 3-8 in Jody Grooms' first year. Shout out to Coach Grooms.
Yep.
So during that time, people like Barkwell Rivers, Michael Bowman, and all them were freshmen and all that, right?
Yeah, they were freshmen.
Yeah. And Nelson and all those guys, Marshall Taylor.
Marshall, yeah, freshman.
Yeah, the point I'm making, that was during the time that the program was down in the dumps, and you had those young guys. I don't ever, and then even on that 3-8 team, you had some guys who were sophomores on that team. God rest his soul, guys like J.C. Coleman, R.I.P. Mm-hmm. Guys like Oren too, who were on those teams, who were like sophomores on that 3-8 team. Guys, the point I'm making, did you hear Oren too and JC talking about they weren't getting enough exposure? Justin, John Jarman, and those guys, Tim Parsons and all those guys. Did you hear them claiming that they were crying about not getting exposure? I'm gonna go to Forest Hill, gotta get exposure. And their team was 3-8. I want to make this clear now. Did you hear them saying they're mad and they're not getting exposure, they want to leave? You know they didn't. The next year they went 8-5.
Yep, went to the playoffs.
Yep, and won a playoff game. And then the next year went 8-5 again. And then those guys who were freshmen went 10-3 the year after that. So they weren't complaining about not getting exposure. They just got better.
We just went out there and played.
They got better and they won ball games. So, but that's a generational type thing now. And I'm not trying to sound like the get off my lawn old man type thing, but we're now I think we're in an era where people expect things just to happen for them, but don't expect to have to. They don't want to get their hands dirty.
No.
What Griffin say?
His son played with them too, but man, 7-on-7 is just fundamentals. Any 7-on-7 team is only as good as the quarterback. Oh, that he was talking to him right here. He talking about 7-on-7. 7-on-7 ain't nothing, man. That's just practice, bro. And again, like Jermaine said, you only good as your quarterback is. They don't keep score and they don't keep count for that. That's just it's just scrimmage. We ain't worried about scrimmage. These real games right now. 11-on-11 is the most important thing. 7-on-7 is nothing. 11
and the names you just named, Griffin, May, and Little, are all good players too. It's just they got to be utilized properly.
Yeah.
But from a grand standpoint, or for guys talking about they want to leave because they're not getting exposure, you don't get exposure when you're 3-6 on it.
Nah, you don't.
Losing teams don't get exposure. So it has nothing to do with your location. It has more to do with the results.
Yeah.
I feel like this. Anson County was a team that was on TV all the time, always in the Sharp Reserve, in Sweet 16 and all those things all the time. Not that long ago, just when Coach McMahon was here, 10, 11, 12, 13 years ago.
That was in at least top
I feel
five.
like I got to finish this. If you don't get if we're bad for getting exposure, then tell me how in the hell was Stephon Anthony the #1 ranked outside linebacker in the country and played in the Under Armour All-American game on ESPN? Tell me how that happened if the exposure is an issue. Tell me how Brandon Ellerby got recruited for and played for North Carolina. Tell me how Marcus Smith got recruited for and played for Texas Tech. Tell me how Barkwell Rivers played for Virginia Tech. Tell me how Trent Sturman played for Georgia. Tell me how Michael Bowman played for East Carolina. Tell me how DeJuan Pope played for Clemson and is now the assistant GM for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tell me how Jimmy Lindsey is the defensive line coach at the University of South Carolina. Tell me how that's possible if exposure is not a thing here. It ain't got nothing to do with exposure. It got to do with results.
That's it. It's simple as that. It ain't no exposure. I mean, you named all those people. Guess what? I can tell you right now, Stephon went on a winning team.
His last year, he wasn't on a winning team.
Yeah, last year. I'm not the previous, but this senior year, he was not on the winning team.
Nah, but I'm talking about he'd already established who he was at that point.
Yeah, okay, but I get that. Timmy Horn wasn't on the winning team.
Now, Timmy wasn't on the winning team, and Timmy got exposure, and Timmy's in the NFL right now. Yep. On the 53-man roster for the Atlanta Falcons. And Timmy also played for the Charlotte 49ers, too.
Undrafted free agent.
Yeah. So I don't want to hear no mess about not getting exposure. If you want exposure, go out and get it.
That's it.
Because if you go play for Forest Hill, if you don't do a dang on thing over there, you still ain't going to get an exposure.
It comes down to how bad you want it.
That's true.
Who's it? BB?
BB Hurney? Is my coworker BB?
BB, my guy, young Tyrell.
I work with a guy named BB. I'm trying to think if it's him.
What's the topic? I'm just getting on.
Is it? We're talking about high school football, Anson County. For right now, we're going to delve in a little bit more, but right now we're talking about the Anson County Bearcats.
I just put it to you like this, man. You can't, like you said, you want exposure. You can't. Somebody just can't give you something and think you're gonna do something with it. I can't give you $1 million and you make it $100 million just because I gave you $1 million. You got to go out and make it $100 million. You know what I mean?
And you remember why you hate the game by the game in Nas?
Yeah.
Nas said, I could show them he said I could show them the water, but can't make them drink it. Let me finish. I can show them my fortunes, but can't force them to think rich. That's that last part. So, yeah, we got Anson winning, but I can't make it. I mean, your guess is good as mine, but I think Anson wins that game 21-0.
Soundly, they should win this game easy. Should come out. They should just with the. Well, not wishing that on those kids. Hopefully, they all get better or whatever's going on up there. They should win this game by 4 touchdowns, 28-0.
When the heck they gonna score 28 points from?
Huh?
I wonder where in the world they're gonna get them 28 points from.
Well, they should be able to get if they depleted team.
Yeah, we gotta hold on to the ball.
Yeah, they gotta hold on to the ball.
I'm saying 21-0. Lee saying 21-7. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I'll take 6-3 as long as we win.
I'll take 3-0.
I would too.
But
I'm going 21-0.
I'll take 2-0.
Hey, maybe they don't feel enough. Nah, I'm not gonna say that.
They gonna play tomorrow.
Yeah.
They'll play tomorrow.
I just want to get in. You know how at church when they talk about making it in heaven, they say, Lord, I just want to make it in. That's how I feel about playoffs right now, man. I just want to make it in.
They get them singers. They won't weigh in. What it say? He says, Anson wins 14-10.
I'll take it. Man. I'll take a win however I can get it, man.
We want them to win.
And while you at it, man, can somebody tell me what's the score to Tampa Bay versus Baltimore right now? Anybody? Fan, you, Nick, whoever?
I don't know. I ain't. You know, I ain't got Amazon Prime Video.
Yeah, I need to know.
I'm finna look it up now.
Because speaking of playoffs, there's an NFL playoff implications in Charlotte that might be impacted by that game. So that's why I want to know what the score of that game is. I need Baltimore to win that game, and I'm gonna tell you why.
The Project Babies to win. I need them to win.
Lamar Jackson and the Ravens.
Lamar Jackson, the
Who
Project.
got 10, Barrett or Jermaine? Who got the 10?
Probably Tampa.
They said Jermaine said 7-3 and Barrett said 10-3.
Come on, ESPN. Okay.
I need to know.
Books.
Ugh.
Hey, by the way, that was a good win with nothing.
Nah, I'm gonna tell. Well, to the people that don't understand why I care, if Baltimore wins this game, what's up, Sam?
Sam Williams in the building. What's going on, Sam?
If Baltimore wins this game, that means that Carolina and Atlanta game Sunday will be for first place in the division.
That'd be a good one.
So that's why I want Baltimore to win. As crazy as this sounds, if Baltimore beats Tampa tonight and Carolina beats Atlanta Sunday, Carolina will be sitting atop of first place in the NFC South.
With the losing record.
Hey, I'm telling you what the standards will be.
Yeah, you're right. They'll be on the 500, but they'll be in first place. I mean, it's happened before. The NFC East used to be like that. I don't know what happened this year. They traded places.
You can't win it if you ain't in it. The point I'm making is that Carolina is still in position to have meaningful games. I don't believe in tanking, Sam. Whatever, dude. Your 49ers just got McCaffrey, and they lost the first game with him. Y'all got waxed the other day. You're still 3-4-2. And you gave up all your draft capital to get McCaffrey. We just gave him to y'all, and you still lost. And then we won since it's been gone. So there, you can happen. All right, now, do I think? Now, Barry asked me, do I think that Steve Wilkes is our guy going forward? If so, who's those see? I don't know. I mean, I like Steve Wilkes, and I want him to get a fair shot because he got screwed by the Cardinals. I mean, let's see how things play out. If the team bought into him, if things play out, I mean, I'm okay with him. As far as who the OC is, I have no clue because I don't know who's going to be available.
They need that. They ain't lying about that.
Of course, we need a QB, Sam. About 2/3 of the NFL need a QB. So that's the way the game goes.
At least for a week at number one.
Yeah, for a week number. Hey, the thing is, you can't win it if you ain't in it. So I mean, it ain't my job to apologize for anybody else's record. If first of all, we need to take care of our own business and keep winning games. First of all, we need to win Sunday, no matter what happens, just to stay afloat. Secondly, you're still in a situation where you got meaningful games. And the thing about it, people talk about draft picks and all that. You got 2 second rounders. You could package your 2 second rounds in the first round to trade up if you need to trade up in the draft. Secondly, just because you draft a guy doesn't mean the guy's going to pan out to be any good. I mean, people draft play. Also, you got Matt Corral who hasn't played yet, so you never know if he could develop into be something. So I don't believe in losing on purpose. And players who are on the roster can't lose on purpose because if they lose on purpose for a draft pick, the guys they'll be drafting to be the guys they draft to replace them.
Yeah, that's true.
Man, I got a text message chain on this. What's going on?
That's a tank for so who you want.
Give me 1 second. Let me respond to this text. Somebody asked, my uncle asked me the answer win last week. I'm like, nope. Lost 28-21.
Almost win, but almost don't count.
That's what Brandy said.
Yeah, almost, but almost don't count.
Everybody knows. Almost doesn't count.
It don't.
Sam saying take for someone who you want. I don't see how. I mean, I ain't got nothing against Bryce Young, but I don't know. Just because someone's playing well at Alabama, when you got the best offensive line in the world, best receivers in the world, best running back in the world, best defense in the world surrounding you, we don't know if he can play. Look at Mac Jones, and look how he's flaming out right now. So you don't know that. And when it comes to C.J. Stroud, I don't trust no Ohio State quarterback. Period. I'm gonna sound like them city girl. I don't trust no Ohio State quarterback. Period. With the T at the end. I don't trust Ohio State quarterbacks. God rest the soul of Dwayne Haskins. We saw how he turned out. We saw who came before him. I ain't never Even the kid
What's
that's
his
in
name?
Chicago, I'm not
Barrett.
knocking him, but right now it's taking a minute. So,
JT Barrett.
well, JT Barrett wasn't even drafted.
And Justin Fields is showing you that, you know.
I mean, Troy Smith. I mean, you got a lot of Ohio State quarterbacks that didn't pan out. Terrell Pryor didn't even play quarterback in the league. So, and with Bryce Young, I'm not crazy about these Alabama quarterbacks either. So, those are the top two. I'm like, if you take them, so you talk about those are top two. Aside from that, what other quarterback would you even look at as being a franchise cornerstone?
Let's see some college matchups for the week. We got some games live now.
The guy from Florida, I mean, I ain't taking the guy from Tennessee, the guy from Greensboro. I don't know. Is he a 1 year wonder? We don't know. He's 23 years old already. And then maybe you can get him later on in the draft. You might get him in the middle of the draft, in the middle of the first round.
Me personally, with more development, I like the guy from Tennessee. I think he's gonna be something special.
He might be.
I think he'll be. I'm just saying, like later with the development, I think he'll be special. I like his chances.
He might be. I doubt if he's gonna be the first pick in the draft. So you might get him at the 19th pick, or you can trade up.
I ain't gonna say the first pick, but I'm just saying as far as like skill set, like I like his style.
Florida, I didn't even get to see the game against Alabama. I was at your dang on wedding.
Huh?
I didn't even get to see him play against Alabama. I was at your dang on wedding.
I watched the highlights after. After. Let's see what we got Saturday, October 29th. We got.
That's a fair comparison with the game. He said, "Got Tennessee doing what Cam did at Auburn." That's fair. But go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
We got Ohio State versus Penn State.
I think where's that game played?
Penn State.
Oh, one of the whiteout guys. I still think Ohio State win, but I think it's gonna be a dogfight.
Okay. TCU at West Virginia.
TCU.
Okay. Notre Dame at Syracuse. I'm gonna take Syracuse on that.
I'm taking Notre Dame. I want the black coach at Syracuse. I agree. Be cool, man. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm gonna go with Notre Dame. Well, that's a black on black coach game. I'm going.
It is. I'm going Syracuse with that one. I like Syracuse.
I'm going Notre Dame. This is crazy. What I'm saying, Notre Dame with the upset of Syracuse. That don't even sound right.
It don't sound right, but I'll take it. Let's see, not Alabama. Arkansas versus Auburn.
I don't know. They both underachieving. What a game at?
Auburn.
I'll say Auburn.
Okay. The Oklahoma versus Iowa State. At Iowa State.
I'm gonna say Oklahoma in a nail biter.
What is that? I saw note that I think Shedeur Sanders should be invited to the Heisman.
He might be. Like Steve McNair was at Alcorn State, he got invited. God rest his soul.
1994.
Yeah, so Steve McNair was an FCS HBCU player at Alcorn State who got invited, finished third in the Heisman race. So Sanders, you never know.
Aaron McNair. He said, "I got to settle alone." What's up, Charles?
Hey,
man, you catch the playback, baby. It'll still be here, man.
Yeah.
That kid from UNC that is sitting up on the bench for Washington is a better QB than starter. Sam Howell. I mean,
you tell he's better than Wentz or better than Heineke.
Heineke.
Heineke's okay.
Wentz is just at the end of his stint right now.
I don't know what happened to him, but go ahead. What's the matchup you got?
What we at last? Boston College, Connecticut.
I think BC, but they both are awful. Salute to the old Big East, but I'm gonna say BC over UConn, but that's a horrible game.
Georgia Tech versus Florida State.
I think Florida State wins, but I think that game's gonna be closer than people think.
Yeah. USF versus Houston.
Houston should win.
Okay. Toledo versus East Michigan.
Eastern Michigan.
Yeah.
Those two schools are like 40 miles apart from each other, just across state line from each other. I know where both those schools are. I know where actually my Aunt Shell and Uncle Bernard live like 3 minutes from Eastern Michigan University. Okay. I'm gonna go with Toledo. Their son actually went to med school at Toledo, so I'm going with the Toledo Rockets.
Okay. Let's see who we got next. Come on. Okay. Miami, Ohio versus Akron.
I don't know. Akron.
Miami versus Virginia.
The real Miami versus Virginia.
Yeah.
You know what? The Miami Hurricanes, and BB's a big Miami Hurricane fan. Miami Hurricanes are a dumpster fire. They lost to Middle Tennessee early this year. I'm going with Tony Elliott and the Virginia Cavaliers.
Shout out to Virginia. Oh, UNC Charlotte versus Rice. I know
First of
you
all,
want to preach. I'm gonna give you the flow because you
first of all,
ain't
it's Charlotte versus Rice, but
yeah.
it just made the correction. Speaking of Charlotte, right now we're in a transitional period, but
You happy?
I almost shouted Sunday, man. I was about to break out into old Negro spiritual when I heard the news that Coach Will Healy was fired. That's
You
about
been
4 weeks overdue.
you been preaching it all season, man. You been
Yeah,
preaching.
and we're getting ready to move into the American Athletic Conference, which is a tougher conference with schools like SMU and with schools like Memphis and stuff like that in that conference where you got tougher competition. And we couldn't bring that coach in there. I've already ranted about him enough. He's gone now, and
He did.
yeah, as far as Rice doesn't have a whole lot of talent, but they're playing respectable this year. A lot of people don't know about Rice. Rice used to be in the same conference with Texas and Texas A&M and all them. They were in the old Southwest Conference with them until the Southwest broke up and merged with the Big Eight to become the Big 12. But
Yeah,
Rice
because
used
they
to
are
be,
in Texas out there, and
it's in Houston. But
Houston.
Rice used to be in that conference with Texas and Texas A&M and Texas Tech and Arkansas and all that. They were in the same conference up until 1996. But Rice is they're moving to the American Athletic Conference with us too. Rice probably be favored to win the game. The guys in Charlotte don't really have anything to play for. They're already 1-7. I'm gonna say the Rice Owls are gonna win that game.
Okay.
But I appreciate Charlie Holly picking Charlotte.
Who we got? Georgia and Florida. Oh,
Down there in Jacksonville at the old grounds of the Gator Bowl.
yep.
I think Georgia's gonna win that game handily.
Think so?
Like something like 41-22 or like 45-24. So they're not gonna beat them like 60-0. But Florida will hang in there early because it's a rivalry game. But I think Georgia's end up winning that game like 45-24.
I'm gonna pin your post because we've been talking about that all year and put a star by your comment.
Yeah.
It said I want to repeat on here to the AD and Anson, give Ralph Jackson some help.
We've been preaching that all year long.
Yeah. And you've been up here and he knows definitely get that man some help.
Yeah.
I like to have him on here for these preseason interviews.
Yeah, Ralph's a good dude, man. It's like Ralph's a guy I want him to succeed.
Yeah.
I'm like pro Ralph Jackson. It's just that I still have to be honest about what I see and in my observations. But I'm as pro Ralph Jackson as you get, and I want him to be successful. Like it saddens me that he hasn't been successful.
Yeah, it does.
Like a full coaching staff, Sam. That's what kind of help. You don't see a handful of coaches out there on the sideline, and you got like 3 guys trying to handle multiple position groups and stuff.
Yeah, you got one coach coaching receivers, DBs, and probably running backs, and you got another coach probably coaching linebackers and
right,
wide receivers or whatever.
Yep. And that's the problem. That's why the team's not winning.
Olympic Trojans are undefeated.
Really?
Oh,
that's a surprise to me too. And I think in the school's history, I think Anson's only played Olympic one time in football. That was in the 2008 3AA second round of the playoffs. And I remember Anson kind of won that game 55-20.
That's a W.
Yep.
That was a W.
A blowout W.
The W. The W nonetheless.
Yep.
But they get in this 2A thing. Like I said, I told Ant I'll probably do something Sunday, if not next week. As far as like doing a preview on it, as far as playoffs, because I did one last year. I probably do another one this year.
Playoffs.
We did.
Did Charlie Holly? Charlie asked a question.
How do you remember this stuff?
Because I was at the game, man.
He don't know. You at every game, man.
I was at the game. That's how I remember.
If that man ain't at the game, he really got something to do. I'm tell you that.
Yeah, I've only in the last 20 years I may have missed like 5 games.
Yep. He's not lying. He ain't lying.
And one of them, I was on the way to the game and my engine started heating up.
I think I remember that.
In 2007, a second round playoff game against Franklin, I missed that game. I was on the way to the game, my car overheated. And I went back to the UNCC's campus and I found it on the radio, streamed it on the radio, and listened to it. And Bearcats went on to beat the Franklin. Dennis Rory led the Bearcats to a 24-17 second round win over the Franklin Panthers that year.
And Franklin that's the school up there in Asheville, right?
It's past Asheville. Franklin's in Franklin. It's like Franklin, it's like near Tennessee and Georgia.
Yeah, it's a bit like I was about to say Colorweed. In that region.
Yeah, way out there near. Yeah, I think it's like 30 minutes from Colorweed. It's like way out
there. Yeah. I remember Asheville.
Yeah, I remember that game too.
Love that game. Scooter.
Hey, don't you get caught speeding? The scooter scoot right up on you.
Yeah, don't do that because he
don't get caught speeding. State Trooper Dennis Rory gonna get you.
Let me tell you this. Now that the season's over, we're gonna go ahead and tell y'all now that we are in the process of putting together the all-time Bearcats football team, offense and defense.
So we're gonna do like 11 offense and 11 on defense by position.
We can do 11 offensive starters, and we can do a backup for each position.
Ooh, we'll be there all night long.
We can make it 2 parts. It's always 2 parts to a good mixtape.
All right, that's true. It'd be like the drought.
Yeah, it's gonna be like the drought one.
Or the Gangsta Grills, G Unit Radio, and all that.
Yeah, we can make it 1.5, 2, 2.5. Now, if I want to do something like that, I got to reach out to.
We got to get Fred Davis on there. We're gonna do that, man.
Yeah, we're gonna get Fred. We'll get Jody. We'll have us a good time. Might see if we can get a couple of the old players up here. See if we can make something shape.
Hey, let's do it.
We're gonna try to put this together. That'd be like one of these good dope put together shows. I feel like y'all watch. I think y'all enjoy when we do the interviews with Ralph, because that's always a good turn.
Yeah, those get the most views. We're close to 400 views on that now.
Yeah, if not added, and the other one still.
Yeah, I had checked in like a week. I usually go look.
It's kind of 88. I gotta watch from the beginning now. Man, who is this?
Who is this? You played 88 or you born 88?
I think I know who this is.
Oh, somebody went to school with us?
Yeah. I think I know who that is. I'm gonna call a name. If that you ain't, because I think that's who that is.
Who?
Anthony Harris. I think that's who that is.
The 71st Falcon, Anthony Harris?
I think so. I'm not sure, but I think it is. Yep.
Yeah, it's him.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And speaking of Anthony Harris, I remember about 15 years ago, man. It was on one of those NC Preps things or whatever. I want you to know that wasn't me who was talking about you that time. That was somebody else that said whatever. I don't even remember what the situation was. I know at the time it rubbed you the wrong way, but it was someone else who said whatever about you, and I don't even know that person. It just so happened I was in the conversation. But I want you to know that wasn't me who dissed you that time. I know that was years ago, but I just want to make that clear that I got nothing but respect for you. So I just want to let you know that wasn't me.
Oh, I'm confused. What happened?
Nah, this is like years ago, like on those NC Preps message boards. Somebody had said something about him, and it was somebody who had like an Anson tag on their name too. And it was a conversation they were having with me. But it's like it was the way it looked. If you didn't know who it was like confusion about who was saying what. And I was just making it clear to him that wasn't me. That was somebody else.
Okay. It wasn't him.
Yeah.
I want to say good luck tomorrow on your team. He said that's water under the bridge. I don't even remember it. I think I forgot who they got tomorrow. Do y'all got? Is it Jack Britt or is it Southview? I want to say it's Jack Britt that they play tomorrow. They're going for that undefeated season. That's a beautiful thing. To get
and Harris, do you coach a position group? Or you're a coordinator? Like, what exactly? I know you coach on 71st. If I'm not mistaken, you coach for 71st. But like, what group did you work with at 71st? Oh, my bad, Douglas Byrd.
Oh, Douglas Byrd
Eagles. My bad. A little bit further down the road. My bad.
They play them tomorrow.
Oh.
That's what they play.
Okay. They used to be an old Mid-South conference. Then they used to be the Mid-Southeast together.
And that's what we need right there. I like that.
We definitely need a special teams coordinator. Come on home, man. I know they might not be able to pay you what they pay you down there in Fayetteville. Come on home. Come on home and then do DoorDash or whatever to make up the difference. Or Uber Eats or something. I guess Nick just let me here by myself. Well, since I'm by myself, can somebody check the Ravens and Buccaneers score for me again until he gets back? And let me know if that score changed that game. Baltimore versus Tampa, anybody?
Still in the studio, still here.
Oh, you tried to come back, but oh well.
What happened?
Nah, we were telling Anthony Harris to come home. He said he'd been trying for years.
Well, they didn't want you to come back.
Yeah, that's that. I want somebody to give me that Baltimore Tampa score again while you were gone.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had to handle some business.
Oh, that's fine. That's like, I guess it's going. I was just improvising.
Oh, oh, you know how? Hey, the flow. Hey, I tell you, watch the flow. Tampa win 10-3.
Okay. Come on, Baltimore. Help my Panthers out.
That'd be good to have you back, man. Coaching, you know what I'm saying? It's a different philosophy. You know, I've seen what he's done down there with that program, and he's put some kids in some good positions down there too.
Yeah. We need to get our program back organized. There's a lack of organization in our athletic department.
Yeah, and I'll tell Ant this, and I want to say this because he's a coach. Y'all don't use the sophomore excuse for when y'all have new players upcoming. Sophomore excuses, what y'all don't use that, do you? Like, cause down here they say we got a lot of sophomores, and
even though it's the seniors who keep fumbling the ball. But
yeah. So I mean, they don't use excuses for what they got on the team. They got what they got, and guess what? They get new classes every year.
And the thing that bothers me about that, like I said before, it's the seniors who are making the costly mistakes, the costly games. The majority of the turnover is coming from the seniors.
Agreed.
So it's not even the reason we're losing has nothing to do with playing a lot of sophomores. It's the upperclassmen who are making the key mistakes that are costing us the games.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, anytime things don't go the way you want them to go, there are two things you can do. You can either make excuses or you could do something about it. Do something about it. And right now, I keep hearing a whole lot of excuses.
So we're not even trying to play sophomores or freshmen up. But if they do come up, they don't get no excuses. Agreed.
Right.
There you go. But again, that's a winning mentality. You got somebody. I looked at from what I've seen. I'm gonna go back for as 3 years. I feel like, including regular season, postseason, this team ain't lost no more than 3 games. 71st. I think they went undefeated last year. They're undefeated right now. I think the year before that they lost 1 game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it kind of helps. No diss, but it kind of helps they're not in Southeastern Conference anymore. but that's not a diss. So just look.
Well, I mean, still they got to play.
You still got to play the games. You're right.
We ain't in the South Piedmont no more.
Nah, we got worse. Yeah, or Southern Carolina, we got worse.
We're in the Rocky River, and we can't even win them games.
Now we're winless in the Rocky River this year, and went winless in the Rocky River last year.
And that's a conference that you should be undefeated in every year.
We've only won the Rocky River one time. That was in 2019, and I'm not even going to get into that.
We're not getting into that, but yeah, that one time. We said, I'm trying to finish the job here, but I'll never say I wouldn't come home.
That's a diplomatic answer, and I mean, I get it. I mean, you're in a public forum. You got to take care of the job you got. He's not going to just say, "Hey, I'm coming." I got a question for everyone. How long do we wait for Ralph and Ansley to get a turnaround?
You gotta ask the AD.
Oh man, you're gonna put me on the spot.
You gotta ask Ralph.
No, hold on. Let me answer. When we had Ralph on a few months ago, and I remember he was talking about, he said, we're still trying to get this built up, and he said, hopefully they'll make they'll allow me to finish this building. And you know what I said to him? I said, you've had 7 years. This will be the 8th year. This is not about Ralph. This is just from a general perspective. Typically speaking, no one's generally given 8 years to build something up. Typically. No. That's not about him. I'm just talking about from a general perspective. Typically speaking, if you're not given 8 years to turn a program around. If there have been 8 years and only 1 winning season and 7 losing seasons, you're talking for coach. You're being afforded 8 years to turn it around. So when it came to the way I looked at it, when it came to the time to turn it around, I felt like the time is now. The time is yesterday. The time is tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, like literally tomorrow, like tomorrow at 7 o'clock. If it's going to get turned around, that's the time to do it. And then in first round playoff, second round playoff, I mean, that's the time to turn it around. At this point, I would love for him to have a full deck of cards as far as the coaching staff to work with. But on the flip side, it's hard for me to say that. It's hard to make the argument to say, hey, give somebody that a 9th, like, hey, look, maybe it'll happen in year 9. That's just a hard message to push. And that's not a knock on him. That's in general. Just when we take the name out of it and just look at the situation, because I like the guy. So I'm trying to let's take my personal bias out of it. Let's take my fondness for him out of it, and let's just look at the situation on its merit. If it's anywhere else, if we're evaluating the Carolina Panthers in the same situation, are we saying, well, let's have Coach Rule to stay? Well, we'll be talking about let's see if in year 9 he can get a turnaround. If you're a North Carolina Tar Heels fan, and when they had John Bunting coaching them, and we're used to them like, well, maybe Coach Bunting, in year 9 he'll get a turnaround. If you're looking at the Southern California Trojans, and when Clay Helton was coaching them, would you sit there and be like, well, maybe in year 9 we can right the ship? And no other scenario are you looking at saying that, hey, well, maybe in year 9, let's give someone a chance in year 9 to right the ship. Most of the time, if the ship hasn't been right, if someone hasn't right the ship by then, you're not even getting anywhere remotely close to year 9. Most of the time, you got about 4 to 5 years, 4 if they're generous 5, to get things turned around. You're typically not being afforded the 9th year to get it turned around.
Well,
Does that answer the question?
I know one coach that's probably gonna be exiled after this week if he don't beat I forgot who they play. But the Denver coach is on the hot seat already. He ain't got started.
Yeah, it's tough for them.
Yeah, it's tough. Very tough.
You still get paid.
They like still get paid. Matt Rule getting paid.
Just like Matt Rule sitting there getting that fat chick sitting on his couch.
Yeah, well.
And everybody knows he probably ended up with the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Cornhuskers. We gotta do something about that name. He's a little answer, but is the job appealing enough community involvement for a turnaround?
Well, if you win games, the community will be involved. No, that goes hand in hand. If you don't win, the community is not going to invest in something that's not winning. People show up when you win.
Well, let me ask you this. See, I'm glad you brought that up too. Let's go back to the beginning of this tenureship with Ralph. Like, honestly, how many people actually supported him in the beginning? That's what I want to know. Was it a lot? Or just as many?
I mean, and Sam clarified what he meant down there. He's talking about involvement of kids.
Yeah.
When Ralph first got here, I was at the games. He got here in 2015. There was a lot of buzz and energy. And I want you to know, he inherited a god-awful football team when he first got here.
Right.
In 2015, it went 1-10. I didn't hold that against him because, I mean, he just got here. He had him a full staff.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I didn't like, he blew that game against Chesterfield. He admits it. He apologized for it and everything. That game there kind of slowed down the trajectory. When that season was rough, that second season they showed more promise.
Mm-hmm.
They went 4-7, but they were like 4-4 through the first 8 games and lost the last 3. There were 3 games they blew. They blew a game against Monroe. They blew a game against they lost to Monroe 12-9. No, they lost to Monroe 18-12 in overtime that year. They lost to They lost 3 non-conference games that were really close, like that went down to the wire, where they probably should have gone 7-4 instead of 4-7, but they just didn't know how to finish games, and it looked like there was a lot of problems. And at that time, you weren't necessarily getting the crowds, but you were still 3A school. You still had decent amount of kids playing. It was a lot of young talent didn't know how to put it together, but they were competitive. Right. Then the next year, I thought they took a step back. Their first year when they went down to the Rocky River, they started out 0-6 in the non-conference, but they turned it around and went 4-1 in the conference, and was still able to get in the playoffs because of the conference record. Right. Then in 2018. He'll tell you this, and I told him this to his face. I thought 2018 was the most unacceptable season he ever had. You had a loaded team with Jalen Marshall, Wesley Lear, Daquan Sturman. You were rolling on all cylinders, and then you beat Statesville. Statesville went 9-2, 8-3 that year. You beat them 14-0. You 3-2. You go toe-to-toe with undefeated South Granville, who finished undefeated that year in the regular season. You lost them 34-28. You're sitting there looking like you should run through the Rocky River, and you go finish last place in the Rocky River and go 1-3 and finish 4-7 and miss the playoffs. That was unacceptable, and he knows that because he and I talked about that. And then at that point, that's when I started thinking like, all right, is it ever going to get turned around? And then like in 2019, and I'm not going to get into detail, but in 2019, we finally saw they reaped the benefits of what they put together. Of course, we know that was taken from them, and there was some of it was because of an incident that happened, but aside from that, and one thing I don't like this mentality that you're only supposed to be good every third or fourth year when you got a lot of seniors. A competitive winning program is good year in and year out, consistently good.
Yeah.
So you can talk about support all you want, but ultimately, and he'll be the first to tell you, we haven't won enough games in his tenure to sit there and complain about support.
It takes the coaches, players, and the administration, yeah. And
now the administration, that's a different discussion. And the administration,
you can speak your mind if you feel it.
No, what I want to get at, I want to draw correlations. As far as what's budgeted to the team and all that, that falls on the administration. So that goes back to when you're taking 4 paid coaching positions away. That sends the message that the administration's not all in on the program. So to me, how can it? Even if the administration say, "Hey, we support the program," even if the administration out there, if they're saying that, "Hey, we want the program to be successful," that kind of action handicaps the program. So if you're going to support the program, you have to support them with your action and with your budgeting and with your resources as well. I can say that when you take away resources from the program, you're setting the program back. And that's where the administration got to step up and say, hey, let's make sure the resources are there, and then let's see what happens. So, yes, I'm critical of the administration for that.
I agree with that right there, too. That should have been around
What is that?
That should have been around here a long time ago.
Somebody needs to start, or read it out.
Somebody needs to start an AAU organization to stop them from playing for other teams and other kinds. That is true. I agree with that. And I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, because Monroe gets they always get a couple
of yeah.
And I'm not gonna call people names when we're talking about kids, but Monroe reaped the benefit of our transplants. Also, you got to get the booster club back going too.
That's another thing.
And the booster club, and this is not knocking anybody, this is a factual statement. The booster club folded during the Hyatt tenure.
Yeah.
So you also got to say that Coach Jackson inherited a program that didn't even have a booster club behind it.
He said we just had 25 with our D1 and D2, about 15. That's just enough to play both sides of the ball with four backups.
Who's Sam talking about?
No, it was his Pop Warner team.
Oh.
So we have 25 with our D1 and D2. No, they ain't been on booster club in a while. They're about 12 years now, 11 years.
I'm glad to see Sam on here, man, because we showed him love a few times. So glad to actually see him on.
Oh, yeah. Good to have him on the show, man.
There isn't a booster club, man. The booster club been gone, man. I remember when Daryl Simon and some people were trying to shout out to Daryl when they were trying to start the booster club back up. and I don't know if they were able to get enough people to do it. But I know Daryl and a few other people were really adamant back around like 2013, 14 of trying to get a booster club started back up. But I don't. It never materialized, or if it did come through, it didn't last long.
We had 100 plus in people. We did. I mean, I know our team had about 40 or 50, and everybody else probably did too. But you had people that actually played sports too, and were actually passionate about the game of football. The passion is gone. It's not the same.
Right. And while you're speaking of the numbers, there's something I do want to clarify with the numbers because I get tired of this inaccurate statement get put out.
Okay.
Everyone keeps talking about our school population size. We're 2A school, and some people talk about the way the numbers looking. We're close to 1A. That's not true. I said I'm going to correct that. Anson Senior High School, on the actual main campus of Anson Senior High School, yes, you have 646 students, but the early college grades 9 through 12 are eligible to play athletics because they don't offer athletics at the early college, so they're eligible to play athletics at Anson Senior High School. Not the fifth year seniors at the early college, but the 9 through 12. So you have 260 kids. This is the last report that was made to the public was for the 2021 year. You had 646 people enrolled on the campus of Anson Senior High School, and you had 260 enrolled from grades 9 through 12 at Anson Early College. And when you combine that, that's 890 kids. That's solidly in 2A. The year before, you had dropped down to 785. So that means you went up 105 kids between 2019-20 and 2020-21. So that means you went up in the trajectory. As of that last report, that means you had 890 kids. That's solidly in 2A. If you can get a surge to 80 to 100 more kids, you can be back in the 3A area. So that statement that people keep making about that, when people make the statement, be effing knowledgeable about what you're talking about before you go around saying stuff like that. And what I'm telling you is not something I heard. It's something I looked up and it's documented. I went up and got it from the state official site where I looked up the Anson County school population, and I saw where the last report was 646 in Anson Senior and 260, 264 or something like that at Anson Early College, and then the alternative school you got 19, but I don't. That's between grades 9 through 12. If you add that, that's 899 kids right at 900. You put 1,000 more, you're back into you're close to the 3A number. I mean, you put 100 more, even if you don't get 100 more, you're solidly in 2A. You're nowhere close to 1A numbers. So, and that's what they go by. Even when we were in school, we had like 1,100 and 12. I mean, after we graduated, some of those years when they were having 11 and 1,200 kids, they were only having like 900 at or 800 at Anson High School, and they had about 250 at early college. That's how they've always done it. That's how it's always been counted, and I just wanted to make that clear.
We've always been right. When we were even when we was in there, we were basically. I mean, we hovered under the 3A specification, but I mean, we were at.
Man, we had like 1,100 kids. I mean, because early college didn't exist until we got like in 11th grade and 12th grade. So during those years, you probably at that time you had about 900 or something at the school, then about 200 or something at early college. Then you then in later years you had one of those other Anson New Tech highs and all that stuff too. But people didn't realize they combined all of those. Just like Richmond Senior High School, when they say they got 2,000 some kids, there are only about 1,600 kids at actual Richmond Senior High School. But in the 9th grade at Freshman Academy, they count them too. Even when you had Rockingham Junior High and Ellerby Junior High, the 9th graders at those schools were counted towards Richmond Senior's population.
Come out. It's a hard pill to be honest when you know it's more talent. It really is. It's a lot of that talent just sitting at the house. But
you got to recruit. You got to energize the base. I mean, I'm sick and tired of excuses. Somebody got to energize them and get them out. I mean, you got to have someone that has the energy, has the enthusiasm, and the conviction to get them to come out.
That's true.
You got to give them something to buy into.
I think I don't know what it is now, but I mean,
when you got a decade of consecutive losing, then losing becomes embedded in the culture, and then we have a fan base. And I'm not talking about any of the parents on here, but you got a lot of parents who are okay with losing, who preach that rhetoric where they're just kids, they're just 16-year-olds. I'm like, Big Shelby got a bunch of 16-year-olds too. When Independence won 7 straight championships, those were 16 to 17-year-olds too. Richmond Senior, all them years they were whooping our butts, had 16 to 17-year-olds. But for whatever reason here, we've got a lot of people that's become so complacent with losing to where they've learned to accept it and learn to justify it, and now that's been passed down to generations to where the expectation in the culture is that it's losing culture, and people are satisfied and okay with it.
Yeah.
And we got to get to the point where that's no longer acceptable.
Because I remember, look, appealingly now, we did not have nowhere near the pretty equipment that these kids got now, like cool jerseys. We had beat up, raggedy jerseys.
But you got to realize, the last time Anson had a winning season and made playoffs, we know what happened in 19. Aside from that, prior to then,
2010.
2009. So you got to realize how many. So hear me out. How many years ago is that? That's 13 years ago. The youngest player on the team was probably 14. So you're saying not old enough to remember. Oldest player on the team was probably 18. Still would have been 5 years old, wouldn't have been keeping up with high school football. That means you have an entire team of guys who in their lifetime, as far as their memory, never seen a good Anson team in their life. To them, that's like something that happened. That's something that happened generations ago in their eyes. So they didn't grow up seeing winning tradition. They grew up seeing a bunch of losing. So in their eyes,
it was
the losing is embedded in their culture because that's all they've seen and known. Because to them, in 2009, your sophomore, your freshmen and sophomores were babies and toddlers, and your juniors and seniors were like in preschool. Think about that.
And some of y'all weren't even born. We were playing.
Think about that. So, and that's just from 2009. So now you go back 08, 07, 06, when they were winning when they won the 3 straight conference titles, 2 of them outright. A lot of those kids were not born, or they were babies.
Yep, the dang show was babies.
So they don't. You can say in their lifetime, you got the majority of them in their lifetime never seen Anson win a playoff game in their lifetime.
I think the only person I can recall that was probably born, and I think he may have been 4 or 5 then, was Octavian.
Well, Octavian don't play for Anson. We're talking about the current team. Octavian graduated about 4 years.
I'm saying it's from going back as far as years. That's the only one I can remember. I don't know about these new. I remember him particularly as probably at that age range. I mean, he fell in that around the time of, well, not this current.
And we should have won more games back when Octavian was playing, because Octavian was an excellent wide receiver, a playmaker.
Yeah.
We should have won more games than we had people like Alan Campbell and Jakeem Robinson and all them. We had talent then.
Yep.
When you had Roderick Evans and guys like that, you should have been winning when you had those guys.
Yeah.
Roderick Evans and Brandon Smith in the backfield, you should have been winning with those guys.
Who's over strength and conditioning? That's a good question. Probably nobody.
Probably nobody. Who's our strength and conditioning coach? Nobody. Yeah.
Nobody, baby.
I don't want that. We ain't
we need to go find Coach Johnson.
I'll find Coach Kreger.
Sam, where's Coach Johnson at? We need to go.
That the end of weight room guy.
Yeah.
Inside joke, people. Inside joke. Man, you should put that song on. You should play that song on this podcast one day.
I got to find. I don't know who got the.
Everybody on like a dang old MP3 or jump drivers up there.
Oh man, no one. I mean, for real, probably
nobody.
I don't know who's over it.
Nobody knows.
I don't think nobody is, honestly.
And there lies your problem.
But look, technically it's not, because guess what? That's technically a part of the football staff too, a strength and conditioning coach.
Yep.
They don't have that. Toby McLaurin available for strength. Yeah. I mean,
we talked to Toby McLaurin
in Marlboro.
In Marlboro County at the Jamboree.
Yep.
I don't think right now from that conversation, it didn't seem like that. That's something that doesn't seem like something that's in his plans right now.
Oh yeah, Craig ain't leaving Georgia. He definitely ain't.
He'll leave if you pay him.
Yeah, but I don't think they're gonna pay him what he's getting paid now. I could put. He
was with Grooms down there. Then and then after Troxler took over the school that Grooms first went to in Evans, Troxler later on became the head coach there, and Troxler had him as defense coordinator too. But now Trox is as an assistant coach at some powerhouse in Ohio. That their stadium looked like a college stadium.
Something like that.
I used to talk to Troxel sometimes. Trox, if you listen, man, hit me up. I got to send him the link. I've sent them the link to it before because Trox and I we communicate sometimes. I hadn't talked to him in a good little while now, but we talk sometimes.
True, but yeah, I don't know who's over that thing now, man. Honestly, I don't think from that conference, like you said, from that conversation, I don't think he's
He didn't seem like the coaching football right now is in his plans right now. Just, I mean, he didn't just.
Yeah, he probably.
It wasn't. We didn't just dwell on the conversation, but just when we were talking to him about what he got going on, it just didn't seem like coaching right now is in his plans right now. You got to realize he's. I think he has aspirations that are higher than being an assistant football coach right now, and that's not a diss to anybody. But right now, I think he got other things that he's trying to accomplish right now.
Yeah. And I can kind of from that, and if he did, I think if he does, he wants to come back into something that he.
Yeah, because you were with me when we were talking to him. You were standing right beside me.
Yeah.
He talked to both of us.
I'll let your boy Troxel. He ain't coming down here
either. I'm no comment. He's not coming right now.
Nah,
but
the situation is good where he's at right.
I put it like this: his situation is really good right now. But I put it like this: don't hear me out. He, for the right and under the right circumstance, he would consider it.
Nah, they wouldn't know what to do. You're right.
Nah, but Troxler, I don't want you to think that Troxler wouldn't. You got Troxler from McBee, South Carolina. If Troxler ever decided he wanted to be closer to home, I just know that he would be. I wouldn't put it past him. I feel like this under right. There was a time where I know that he would have been interested. Maybe not now, but there was a time when he was homesick and he was wanting to get closer to McBee. And at that time, I know that he would have considered.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that he would never come back. Trox was one. If he ever decided to move back in the area, I think if it was the right situation and the dollars and cents made sense, I think he would at least consider it. But I think right now he's deeply rooted in Ohio and is happy
there. I mean, eventually they'll figure it out. You know what they want.
I'll figure it out sooner than later. I don't know. Eventually, I don't want nothing eventual.
I mean, when I say eventual, hopefully after the season's over, eventually.
Well, first of all, before we write a post-mortem, we got a game tomorrow.
Yeah, we got a game tomorrow. But it's still an off season too. Not saying tomorrow.
Hey, I feel like this. Depending on when the off season starts, would dictate a lot of what happened.
That's true.
If the off season starts tomorrow night, then it'll probably be a different result than if the off season starts 3 weeks later.
Well, Charles, we had Grooms back in the day. Craig had been here a long time. McLaurin's always been around, so that's how that happened.
Well, I can tell you, Grooms is originally from Marlboro County. He coached under Coach Emery and Coach Davis. Then he went on to become the head coach of Central Bears. And then after Coach Davis stepped aside from head coach to become athletic director, Grooms became the head coach and had a winning record with us. Yeah, we need Josh. You ain't getting Josh. Josh is
yeah.
You ain't getting Josh. If Josh comes back, it won't be to be coach, assistant football coach. How about this? If Josh come back, by the time Josh come back to Anson County, he's gonna be the highest ranked official that we got in the public schools in Anson County. And I'll leave that if he ever comes back.
Yeah, and that's the only way he gonna come back.
The only way Josh McLaurin come back is if he's superintendent.
Yep.
That's the only way. If he ain't superintendent, he ain't coming back.
And that was kind of word of mouth on that one.
And I'm not gonna reveal why I think that, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to say that was kind of word of mouth.
Yeah, we don't want to. Yeah, you and I both know why we think that, but really, I don't want to just tell all of that.
Yeah. Can win tomorrow and get in and win that first round.
I mean, if you get in, anything's possible.
Yeah, anything's possible. You got 5 games. You can do what you want to do. You can.
Hold on, let me read what my man said. He said,
Well, yeah. You hit click on it.
My bad. Like I said, I told Ralph I think he can win tomorrow and get the win first. I agree with that. And I want Ralph to believe it too. I told Ralph, I see Ralph most of the time. I catch him at halftime at games when he's walking, running back at the field house stuff, and I always adapt him up like, "Hey man, I hope you believe because I believe." I said they got to know that you believe too because if they don't see it in you, then they're not going to believe.
Nah, you're right. But that, like I said,
hold on.
It's a
Let me
0.
read this. Hold on, let me read this next statement. Hold on. He said, first of all, I don't know who in the world Ashley is, but Ashley just told me Grooms is back in town.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not here to confirm what man's living situation is, but I mean, I know he came to visit for a game. I saw him. He was at the game we played Pinecrest, and that's I don't know where he lives, but I mean, he was at that game, and it was nice to see him. We chatted with him for a little while. He looks well, and I was happy to see him.
Back to what was that? Like I said, if they win tomorrow, the record is your record go back to 0-0. So all new. There's no more.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
if they win tomorrow.
Yeah, it starts over. You in, so you got a clean slate. I have faith in Coach Jackson. He's a good coach. I have faith in him too.
I like. We've sung his praises for like on the show. Like we've had him as a guest, and any criticism or any thing that we've said has always been football strictly related. And any criticism I've had of him, I actually said it to him when we had him on here, and I've said it to him when I see him. So Coach Jackson and I are on very good terms, and I think the world of him. I think he's an excellent man. I think he's a great molder of young men. But I still have to. But when we're evaluating the results, we're only just evaluating the factual situation. We're just evaluating the data, and the wins and losses. That's just data. Yeah. No, but I like him, and I believe if he was dealt a full hand, that the results would have been better than what they are now. But nevertheless, we can only evaluate what we see.
That's a good point.
And Harrison made another good point. Ralph is a great coach, but it's hard to win with more assistants than paid. That's true. With more volunteers, that's true. That's true. I'm with him wholeheartedly on that.
I think, and this is me, and you probably feel the same way. If they gave him the deck of cards that he needs, I think he's capable enough to get that team to a winning record and probably deep in the playoffs with a good coaching staff, a paid coaching staff. I'll say that I think that with that dealt hand, he can make that happen with the paid coaching staff. I don't necessarily myself per se think he is the problem. He's not.
No, I don't think he's the problem. But at the end of the day, if you're not the problem, as long as he's holding that position, the responsibility is on him to come up with the solution.
Yeah, but again, with the solution that you got, and they taking away some of your answers to your solutions, you stuck with what you got. But again, you got to win with what you got too.
Yeah, ultimately, you still got to find what you know how people say when life gives you lemons, you got to make lemonade or whatever it is.
Yeah,
just like in our everyday lives, everything don't go according to schedule the way we want it to go. We've all at some point in our lives have faced some kind of adversity to where things didn't align the way we wanted them to align. The way we planned, we all plan our lives out to go a certain way and plan to accomplish a certain amount of things by a certain amount of time. And sometimes we run into obstacles that slow down that progress. And during that time, we could do two things. We could either just say, "Oh, woe is me," and not reach that level that we're trying to reach, or we could try to work around the obstacles that are around us and find ways to improvise. If you can't improvise, then if you know how the social Darwinism, they say you either adapt or you perish. You have to adapt to your circumstance.
Right.
People who I know this is pro, so I'm not trying to say that you should do what a pro coach does, but I'm just talking about as far as not being dealt a full deck of cards and looking at the Seattle Seahawks are in first place in the NFC West right now, and they got Geno Smith playing quarterback. The point, I know Geno's a pro quarterback, but I'm talking about compared to their peers, on paper, they would be considered like, well, they should have taken a huge step back. losing Russell Wilson, losing Bobby Wagner, don't have it. The whole Legion of Boom been going for a few years, and they're still sitting atop the NFC West. That's adapting to the hand that you've been dealt.
What they say, we struggling with having 8 coaches for the whole program, but we are all paid, no volunteers.
What are you talking about, Anson?
I think he's talking about himself. I think
you're talking about 71st. Oh, he said y'all. So 71st only got 8 coaches, that including the head coach, man. Or you talking about 8 assistants?
That's good.
I'm waiting for him to respond. No, you can't. Gotta give him a chance to type. Because if they only got 8 coaches, that's not a lot either. I remember back when Fred Davis had him, man, he had like 10 assistants, man. I mean, they were squad deep.
Yeah. 71st.
Yeah, okay. But at least they're all paid. So at least you know you're going to get good quality. At least the 8 that you got, you're going to get the best quality out of.
Right.
And you know that they're all qualified coaches. Okay, so the head coach and 7 assistants. That's a very, I'm talking as far as the numbers wise, that's a very similar situation. The difference is that you actually got qualified quality coaches.
We had like 7.
And we got 6 assistants.
Paid though.
6 paid assistants. Well, dang, so what's on the all 6? Now I'm trying to figure out of the 6 who's paid and I think we only got 6 paid ones.
He said we coach varsity and JV.
And y'all undefeated this year, you said?
Yeah, they undefeated.
Well, there it is. If there's a will, there's a way.
There's a way.
That means that Coach Paroli or whoever, Coach Paroli might not even be living, but whoever coaches 71st now, that means that you guys are finding a way despite obstacles. I'm sure it wasn't his dream to only have 7 assistants.
No.
I'm sure it wasn't his dream or ideal that he wanted to be where you guys got to coach varsity and JV. That's not what was ideal. So he got dealt a tough hand, but you still found a way to work around it. That's life. We don't always get dealt a good deck sometimes.
Nope.
A lot of times things don't go to what we planned for, align exactly how we wanted it to shake out. But we have to find a way to adjust.
Yeah.
Right. You find a way to deal with it, and you're still winning ball games.
Yeah.
So then, and y'all could have made the same excuses and it could have said, well, we don't have this and we don't have that, but you didn't.
He said Paroli died last year.
Well, forgive me, and just that I knew when I think 71st Paroli's who I always thought of. So yes, at the end of the day, you find ways to win. You find if you're determined to make something happen, you find a way to make it happen.
You do.
You can't. And guess what? The pandemic hit 71st too 2 years ago, just like it hit everywhere else in the planet. And but you either adapt to the circumstances, you either adapt to your environment, or you perish.
That's true.
Winners adapt, and they flourish.
Those are true words.
Talk to me.
True words have never been spoken.
Talk to me, somebody.
True words have never been spoken.
I don't want to get on a rant again. I went on one earlier, so.
Yeah, we at the hour and 48-minute mark. Yeah, we at hour 40. We say. Yeah, he went to FSU. Yeah.
Man, Ralph's the FSU guy too.
Yeah.
So Daryl Armstrong, former Orlando match point.
Yep.
And so was the Junkyard Dog.
Oh, dang, all right. Broncos.
Yeah, go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry.
He said both. Yeah, he did go to both FSUs, Florida State and Fayetteville State.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, both FSUs. Dang, I'm sure did. But yeah, we had the hour, about hour and 49 minute mark. We about to close it out, man. I appreciate everybody for coming through with this good live tonight. Good discussion. Um, good convo. Good feedback and response from everybody. Um, like I said, we may be back up here sometime. I'm gonna try to sometime during the week next week, hopefully. I do want to do that playoff preview, but I might.
Wow.
Yeah, the playoffs. Might do the playoff preview next week. I did one last year. We're gonna do one this year as well. But we appreciate everybody for coming through, man. Again, hit that like button, man. Hit the subscribe button, man. Subscribe to the channel, man. Share this content out to anybody and everybody, man. We want people to know.
Absolutely. Tell your friends.
Tell everybody, man. Share it. Share it to your Facebook. Share it to your Instagrams.
And tell your girlfriends to share it on their Pinterest.
Oh yeah. Do that. No, don't do that. Good thing. I appreciate it, man. Hey, appreciate you for coming through too, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate all y'all for coming through.
Yeah,
Jermaine,
much love.
Lee,
Shout out to BB, my coworker, for sliding on too.
Octavian, everybody that came through tonight, people that were watching that didn't probably say too much of nothing. Appreciate y'all too for coming in. But we'll be back next week with another show. Hopefully it's a preview recap. If not, we'll be doing playoffs. We'll still do a recap regardless of what it is. But
yeah,
we'll tune back in next week.
no doubt.
All right.